The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The Office of the Ombudsman has junked the murder and administrative charges filed by former Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag against several officials. The Ombudsman dismissed the murder charges against Justice Secretary Remulla, Bucor officer in charge Catapang Jr., and several New Bilibid prison inmates for lack of probable cause. Now, Bantag filed these complaints in January of this year after he and Bucor Deputy Security Officer Ricardo Zulueta were accused of masterminding the killing of veteran broadcaster Percy Lapid last year. To this day, the two former Bucor officers remain at large. Meanwhile, survivors of the mass shooting at a restaurant and bowling alley in Maine, USA, recounted the horrors of the attack. The details in this report by the Associated Press.
We were enjoying our supper and, teasing each other actually at that moment at the bowling alley. And she was waiting for her turn, and she was goofing around doing something beside at the table. And I heard, like I said, it's all I can attribute to is close to the loudest firework you've ever heard in your life. And then we hear another shot, and that's when I see somebody get hit and fall. And but I froze. We'd like to think that we wouldn't freeze. And it was that particular moment that at least she reacted very quickly and ran. But it was just out of my peripheral vision that I didn't see where she went. I couldn't see if she had gone towards the noise too, because she's equally as helpful as I am, or if she was still behind me. They turned the booth around, and so we were able to get behind there, and I had another child with me whose mom was not with us at that particular moment. Eventually, when it went silent, that was the part that was, like, I don't even know how to explain to people when it's silent like that. You're like, is he hunting? Or is he dead? Is it safe? Are the police in here? We can't hear anything, but then we start hearing people, and it's like, are they hurt? At some point, I yelled even, I'm like, does anybody see Tony? And then the people in my corner, of course, were, and I understand they were panting, they're like, quiet, I'm like, I know, you're right, I gotta stay quiet.
There was 3 gunshots that I heard before I ran out of the building. The first one, because I saw people playing pool, I thought it was the pool ball, it might hit them hard. And then the second one, someone was bowling, so I thought they dropped their bowling ball. And then the third one, when I walked over to see if someone's hurt, I saw a person get shot and fall off their stool. There was 3 other people I ran with to Subway. We hid in the bushes behind Subway, and then the mother of the other little child called her ex-boyfriend to come pick us up.
Said her first words to me were, "I'm not dead, Pepe." And I broke down because it was so rewarding to hear that, and because I'd been through 2 hours of hell.
And I know it's probably not everybody's same thought process, but I don't have hatred right now. I have questions.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Now, how does vote counting work this coming barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections? Let's find out in this report.
Voting for the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections ends at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on October 30. After that comes the crucial process of counting the votes. 3 barangays will conduct automated elections for the first time. These are Barangay Pasong Tamo in Quezon City and Barangays Paliparan 3 and Zone 3 in Dasmariñas, Cavite. Meanwhile, the rest of the country will conduct manual elections. Before the actual counting, the Board of Election Inspectors will conduct an initial check of the ballots without unfolding them. This is to ensure that there are no duplicate ballots and that the number of voters match the number of ballots. Afterwards, the ballots will be opened and grouped into piles of 100. The chairman will then read the names of candidates and the position they were voted for, marking each counted ballot. These votes will be tallied and recorded in the returns. When only a first name or last name is written on the ballot, it will still be counted as long as there are no other candidates with the same name. However, if there are candidates with the same first or last name and one of them is an incumbent, the vote will go to the incumbent. A ballot with 2 or more last names of different candidates is considered invalid unless one of the surnames is the name of an incumbent. In that case, the vote counts for the incumbent. Ballots with nicknames or terms of affection are valid if accompanied by the candidate's first name or surname. Ballots that contain only initials or don't sufficiently identify the candidate are considered stray votes, but this doesn't invalidate the entire ballot. Likewise, votes for disqualified candidates are also considered stray votes, and just the same, this does not invalidate the ballot. However, any ballot that clearly appears to have been filled out by 2 different persons is totally null and void. In case of discrepancies between the tally and election returns, a recount will be conducted. All counted ballots are placed in an envelope, sealed, and stored in the compartment of valid ballots. Election inspectors must prepare 6 copies of the return, which will be given to the City or Municipal Board of Canvassers, the election registrar, and the COMELEC. Once the election returns are completed, the chairman of the election inspectors will publicly announce the total votes each candidate received in the polling place. They will also issue certificates of the number of votes received by the candidates. Despite the manual conduct of this year's BSKE elections in most localities, COMELEC Chairman George Garcia is optimistic that it won't take long before the winners are proclaimed.
Pag automated, mga bandang 6 o'clock, may proclamation at po doon. Wala po itong transmission ng results sapagkat wala naman po itatransmit ng result electronically. Ang mangyayari po, pagkatapos ang pagbilang, yung po SD cards ng mga makina ay dadalhin po doon kung saan ang canvassing area. Manual uploading po ang tawag doon. Sasama-samahin ng mga boto at yun ang mag-print at magiging basihan. Samantala, pag po manual election, baka po abutin tayo ng 9 hanggang 10 o'clock yung mismong proklamasyon.
Mobile journalist Francis Sorsho, we are One News.
The 10-day campaign period for the BSK election ends today. Aspirants for the barangay and SK chairpersons went on a full blast for their campaign on Friday evening in Manila. COMELEC chairperson George Garcia reminds candidates to observe the end of the campaign period. He adds that COMELEC will continue to remove illegally posted campaign materials until Sunday. The poll body also continued to warn against vote buying. Over 100 incidents of vote buying are currently being verified for filing of charges. Meanwhile, a liquor ban is also in effect starting Sunday night until Monday, Election Day. The Health Department reminds voters who exhibit flu-like symptoms to mask up on Election Day. The DOH said this is to prevent the transmission of diseases since polling centers are typically crowded. Meanwhile, the Philippine Red Cross also has these reminders for the long weekend holiday.
At saka mag-swimming po tayo, kailangan naka-life vest. And kung di tayo sure sa area, di tayo familiar, wag po tayo mag-swimming alone. Kailangan po may kasama tayo. Very important also, marami din pong mga fire incidents. So before umalis ng bahay, yung mga saksakan, i-check natin. And then marami din pong nalulooban ng mga bahay. So let us make sure that we have some trusted neighbors to check on our homes.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 10:45 in the morning as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Riza Diaz. Catch our special coverage of the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections on Monday, October 30, beginning 6:30 in the morning. We are One News.